Facebook's wild ride continued last week. It's mostly been downward. A lot of it now is a question about whether or not it's time to buy. The shares collapsed from 38 down to around 20. Rob, you had to think about this. Is it time to buy?
Well, no. A lot of the red flags that were fully masted at the start of the IPO are still there. I mean, the valuation is still, any way you look at it, very, very, very high. You've got still the same problems with governance. You've got a huge lockup, a huge number of shares that are going to come out on the market. You have this giant question about whether they can handle the switch to mobile, which is increasing at an incredibly rapid pace. All this, a lot of these numbers we saw after last week's results, or the week before last, yep. It looks actually still like a very highly valued, risky stock. So I think it's one of those, what Wall Street calls a sort of catching a falling knife syndrome.
Yeah. Rob, you wrote a lot about this before the IPO in terms of the mobile question. You still think at this valuation, I mean, we're at 50% of the level where the IPO was. Is the mobile still a big enough question to...
Yeah, definitely. Well, two things. First off, it is true. A lot of risk has been taken out. It's fallen 50%, but that doesn't mean it's an unrisky stock, if you see what I mean. There are two things to the mobile. The first is, are the kids going to switch to a different thing? That could very well be the case.
And their user base is now like over half.
Yeah, they went from, they have 900, in the first half, or the end of the second quarter, they had 955 million active, users. And more than half of them are basically spending most of their time accessing it on mobile, where they don't yet have a proper platform to monetize.
Well, that's the thing. They're starting to get a hang of it, but will they be able to get as much revenue off of mobile as they get off of desktop? That'll probably happen at some point, just because advertisers like the idea of being able to advertise to people on the go and knowing where they are. Like if they're in a bar, give them an advert.
It's that same old, that thing you see in the Mary Meeker slides or whatever. Yeah. Any investment bank slide says, look, it'll move from TV and radio to. It's a bit like selling, the old adage of selling a toothbrush to every Chinaman. I mean, it doesn't actually always work out that way, and the economics certainly don't work out that way.
The other danger, of course, is that someone else rises up. We saw Facebook spend $1 billion to buy Instagram, a company,
Actually, wasn't $1 billion because
now the value is in shares, right? So now it's like 7.
Well, less than that.
It was a very large amount. Let's put it that way. And for a company with no sales, a few people working for it, I mean, it's just kind of ludicrous.
And even their existing revenue streams, we saw Zynga obviously have a big miss, and Facebook counts on them for quite a bit, and that's sort of supposedly the sort of tried and true revenue.
But it comes back down. I think it's going to keep falling. There's been a bounce. It's up in the last couple of days, Friday and today. My feeling is it keeps going down. There's so much show me built into this thing. You've got to have a much better performance than they saw in the second quarter, which was their first full quarter as a public company. I think until you've seen that, there's no reason to buy this stock, right? No. And so I would imagine it's going to continue to drift. At some point, we'll be having this conversation, I don't know, 6 months from now, and it's a $12 stock, and we'll say, hey, maybe it is time, because they are showing some ability to monetize. They are trading at something slightly reasonable, relative to sales or operating profit or whatever weird metric someone might have used.
But we're not there yet.
But we're so far from there,
yeah.
And we'll have this big lockup to go through. I can't see how anyone could counsel an investor to buy this stock.
We will leave it there. We will certainly be keeping an eye on Facebook, and we'll be back with more Breaking Views tomorrow.